Hey everyone, it's Book of Katherine, and why don't we do the headlines today? Why don't we do the news? And I am so glad to have you with me. And I just got to go out today. I am very happy. I was like, yay, it is the second time I get to go out. I am actually able to drive, and it was like very close to 5 o'clock, and I was like, I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to try and just drive down my hill, and like, my little lady across the street was closed, and then the next antique shop down the street was closed, and I ended up going into the smallest hole in the smallest corner. I found a new place. And I go in, and they're playing the radio, and the whole time I'm shopping, I have to hear the headlines. And then I get in the car, and I'm like, let me hear what they're saying. Like, let me hear this up close. And I switch on over, and I'm like, that's it. Like, that is it. Let us talk about why every single headline is Trump versus, like, bipartisan. Why is bipartisan anger against Trump? Because Trump is literally, at this point, going against every single UN Agenda 2030 socialist regime thing of the World Bank trying to take over and harm the freedom of man all over the world. Would you like to go through this? Okay, so number one headline is the wall. The wall. Why is it that President Trump is not doing Congress or not doing a national emergency and pushing for Congress to pass something instead? Would you like to know why that is? I will explain to you why that is. Sorry, everything's kind of kilted because I wasn't planning on doing a video right now, and I don't know how long I'm going to be standing anymore, so because this was pushing it. All right, so number one, he is not doing Congress he is not doing the national emergency because, once again, that's like an executive order. What happens when Trump is gone? When Trump is gone, the executive orders go away and we return to what? Everything Congress has done before. Like right now, by law, like let's see here, I have a little bit of space left, right? I think I still have, I'm like looking up the sheets I have left in this thing. Right now, here are like all the things Congress has written, right? These are all the laws the DNC passed. And then even the laws that Bush passed. And then even the laws that Clinton passed, right? Okay, so those are the laws that passed. And all of these laws are Agenda 2030. And then do you know when they stopped? Do you know when they stopped making laws? Like when pretty much all the things that really shape and form major national policy, do you know when all that kind of quit? And they just started padding everything? It stopped after 2010. In 2010, there came this big stop. And from then on, there was this huge Republican shift, and it kept on being Republicans. And do you know there's a big deadlock, DNC versus Republican, until right up in this point, all of a sudden the whole thing became Republican because Trump got in office. But did they pass anything? Did Congress pass anything? No, Congress is like, we will not work with you. That is why when you look at the Trump meter and you look at these things, the ratings, it says all these Republicans, you said they stood for one thing, but none of them actually vote that way. Like all of a sudden you see Rand Paul going out there I don't exactly vote for Trump all the time. Oh, really? Isn't it interesting that the New York Times just last summer had you on the far right end of things? That was your ideology, Rand Paul. You ran in Kentucky, which ranked at 33% above the national average for Trump. You know you're from the most conservative district ever, so you ran on the most conservative values ever. And everything in the media says that you are the most conservative person. And then boom, you go out there and you don't vote like that. You vote against Trump. He's like, everyone knows I'm the most independent voter. No, you either vote yes or you vote no, which means when you vote no, you vote with the Democrats, which means nothing gets passed. So nothing gets passed. So what is still there? This is what's still law in our nation. The only things that are changing right now is all this stuff that Trump's doing. And these are all executive orders. That's why you see EOs. There's all these executive orders happening. Now, there are these fantastic other bills that are happening, these small private things, but they take little itty bitty chunks out of Agenda 30. Here's Agenda 2030, and Congress is passing all these little bills that take itty bitty chunks out of it. But oh no, they're not going to take a big freaking chunk out of it or a big freaking chunk out of it. You know what take big freaking chunks out of it? A border wall. Do you know why? Because the world's elite, which includes cartels, which includes Soros, which includes the UN, like the South America is included in the UN, by the way, and China, by the way, grows all the heroin. Everything that the heroin comes from, all comes from China. The entire world is running off of our opioid crisis. That's why Kellyanne Conway said every single day a plane load full of people in America die from the opioid crisis, die from fentanyl. A plane load of people a day. But the media won't talk about that. Oh, no. Why? Because the 174 countries and dictators around the world are making bank over it. So you can bet Donald Trump is like, I ain't going to pass an executive order because when I die and I'm out of here, when my presidential reign ends, all of this returns. And they can just take down the border wall or stop the border wall. If he doesn't make it through this 2020 election, which very well may happen with all the things that they're doing, which very well may happen if none of you run, which very may happen if none of you actually start working the polls and getting your butt out of your seat and actually doing something more than just sitting there and flaming online and start getting active in your local community and start doing something. Oh yeah, he may not actually make it. That is very, very possible because the media is doing a very, very good job. They're putting out conservative channels now. They're doing democracy, conservatism, democracy this, democracy. Oh, I'm an SJW and I quit. And this is what SJW really was. Oh, it's all fake crap. It's all astroturfing from conservatives because we came out so much in the 2018 election that they stopped for a month and then they reborn. 1 million channels were suddenly reborn a month. All these channels just magically disappeared on YouTube for a month and they all came back and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry I disappeared, you guys. I had some things to do or I had some things to re-examine or I had to move or I'm so sorry, guys. But all of a sudden they have new episodes or new series or new channels or new perspectives. Oh, shocking. And it's all conservative, but it all has a slant towards Agenda 2030. Amazingly enough, it all just happens to hate Donald Trump or it all just happens to exclude the UN. You've got to be kidding me. So heck yeah, he's like, no, I want Congress to change this. I want to change it so that when I am gone, this continues. Yeah, he wants Congress to do it. So that would be the border wall. That would be why he is saying Congress needs to do it, not actually do a national emergency. I'm tired of doing national emergency. I actually want our laws in this country to change that you guys have been screwing with and totally screwing up our country and killing Americans with. Yeah, I kind of want to return it and undo some of this. I expect Congress to undo some of it. And you just watch me. You just watch my words get proven right and you just watch it get changed. You just watch it. You just watch it get changed. You just watch. Second of all, let's see what's second. Oh, the wildfires in California. The wildfires in California. He is going to withdraw funding from the wildfires in California. Let me tell you, I lived in California. I grew up in California. I grew up going to national parks. Thank you, goodness sakes. My therapist told me, said when he went through me and took me through all the horrific conditions and woke me up to what I actually had to go through to start healing, to actually get like this instead of what I was before, into a healthy adult, free and glowing and able to write again and able to speak my mind again and able to think for myself again instead of doing like a robot, everything my family told me to do. Oh my gosh, in order to go through that, I had to start admitting some things. And then I went through all this rage of oh, my family. And then he was like, look, there are positive things. In every negative situation, there are positive things. Now it's time to start noticing things that were positive. And so I had to start doing the work of the things. And that is where gratitude comes in. That's where you see my gratitude, is that every sucky thing, I try to find the positive lining. And he taught me that. And one of the positive things about my upbringing is that we were taken we were never taken to hotels at all. We were taken to national parks. Always, because back then it was $7 or $3. Can't imagine why it's $35 anymore. That would be state taxes. They want you staying at the hotels. They know the hotels are $35 and up. And they're like, why would you stay at a camping site for $35 a night? It costs a hell of a lot. So they pushed you through taxes and state laws and everything like that in California. They made it $35. In Ohio, it's $3. Ohio has the most beautiful, amazing parks. Actually, in the entire West Coast or entire East Coast. Oh my gosh, they have these cheap freaking $5, $10 campgrounds, which are absolutely stunning and beautiful. But no way, California, $35 for campgrounds. It's absolute insanity. Insanity. And they don't upkeep them. It's socialism. What can I say? But when we went, it was super, super cheap. And we went all to these. And do you know what? During that entire time, during my upbringing, there was never a wildfire. In fact, for 200 years, mankind had learned how to do industry. Our civilization had come so far that we had learned how to log it right, forest right, take care of the forests. We had learned technology. We had the technology. We had learned all the science of keeping the forests. We would do what's called control fires. And I would watch them. I remember watching in Yosemite them do control fires where they did these control underbrush things. And they do a control fire and burn the underbrush at this nice pace of control, and it prevented massive forest fires from taking out all of California, because all of California is a wildlife preserve, because UN 21 wants these massive cities, which is exactly what California has. They have all the mega little cities that UN 21 wants and UN 2030 wants. They have the major consumerism city. Most people over there are either super wealthy or they are on some form of assistance, and then all they do is consume. That's why everything there that you do is shopping. The habit that you do is shopping. I became an amazing shopper there. I realized that's all I know how to do is shop. I need to learn how to do other things. Like, because I was raised in California. I wasn't when I was young. I'm learning to do the things that I like, I had to relearn the things from when I was really, really young before California was a shopping only place. You'll notice in California, all the shopping things, all the huge shopping things are only 20 years old. That's it. They're only 20 years old. They weren't around before. Nope. So they drove everything out. They made everything a wildlife preserve. They shut it all off. And now they shut it down all the time because they want everything to be wild and free. You'll find out on Agenda 21. And then what they did was to get all this money into the government and to get everyone's taxes, they did Agenda 21 came in the 1990s, and they did a new thing. In order to drain it, remember I said the World Bank wants to take over? And how do they do that? They break our banks. And how do they break our banks? Let me see. Well, one of the best ways to do it is to strip away all technology that prevents national emergencies from occurring. And that's what Agenda 2030 does. Every single thing for land, water, energy, sea, air, every single thing goes against all technology. That's why you can read Maurice Strong, who created it, and he said, isn't it our duty to de-industrialize the planet? Isn't it our duty to de-develop the entire United States? And so they have de-developed California to the point that houses are burning to the ground that have been there for 200 years. And so, yeah, he's like, if you don't put back in the technology that we have, things like control fires, and stop draining our government and trying to bake our bank, he's on to them. So yeah, remove the freaking funding because they have all the technology, and you're seeing scientists going like Conan O'Brien and saying, why aren't they using technology? We have all this technology today and none of them are using it. The UN won't use it. NASA won't use it. This won't use it. And I'm like, yeah, when you don't use technology, national emergencies are cleared. And what happens? It drains our government of billions of tax dollars, raising your tax dollars and breaking our banks, because none of that tax money goes towards any kind of industry, does it? No, it gets lost. None of it, all the wildfires still happen. Did you notice that? And none of it goes to the communities. You look up all these communities of the people who've been mowed down. You look up the communities who've been shot up. Every single tragedy that you've ever seen. Go ahead and look up the charities that they set up. Look up all the billions of dollars that went to things like Sandy Hook and went down to Florida. And you see Hurricane Sandy. You see if any of that money reached the victims. You don't see them, but I've seen them. I've seen the videos before they were wiped of all the protesters from Haiti at the Clinton Foundation and all the people at the FBI. All of them. Boom, boom, boom. All these protests and signs saying, where's our money? We know that you gave billions, but no. They give them to these other little charities. And where do those charities go? The UN! That's the headlines. I love you so much. I don't know if I ever want to go out of the house again. I don't know if I want to hear radio again. Peace out, guys. I love you. Have a great day. Be free. This is all such BS. You know, run for Congress, end this crap. I'm so tired of it. But I'm glad to know it. I am glad to know it, and that's one of the best things that ever happened to me for getting sick. It's because it shoved me in bed. It shoved me in bed, and it made me see the medical industry for what it was. And when I figured out the medical industry was actually trying to kill me and try to save my life, and it was so easy to give me my legs back, so easy to give me my legs back and give me my ability to walk back, and instead they wanted me in that bed dying without moving. Oh, no. I was so close to death. And when I figured out that that's actually what they're aiming for and training doctors for, you have no idea what it felt like going into some kind of Taking Caesar and seeing the young kids, not the older doctors, but the young kids looking at me with fascination like freaking Nazis. I understand that now. And I hated it. My husband and I were like, try and get these young kids out of the room. And they would call their friends and be like, come look at this girl. As I'm sitting in bed having seen, they didn't want to help me. There was no compassion. There was no love. They were just like, ooh. Oh, wow. And they loved it. They loved my pain. That's Nazism. I'm over it. Peace out. Watch my video if you don't know what I'm talking about. And then watch the kitties if you want something to enjoy. Have some love in your life. Bye. That's not a Pew News at all. I'm very different.